Hello, and welcome back to another morning movement mobility session. We have a good one for you today. So grab some space, maybe a yoga mat, something to lay on that is comfortable. You can be barefoot or in socks or shoes for this as long as you're comfortable. So we'll get started with about 20 to 30 minutes of some mobility, flexibility, a little bit of engagement of your muscles to start the day today. So the first one that we're going to do is some standing leg swings. You'll want to grab either the top of a chair or a wall for some balance, and then get your weight centered on one leg. And then we're just going to swing your leg forward and backward. Your leg might not swing as high as mine does. That's totally okay. You're just going to swing it back and forth with whatever range of motion feels natural. And then we'll do that forward and backward with the other side. You can stay facing the same direction. If you prefer, you can turn and face the other direction. And totally normal if one side feels like it has a little bit more range of motion than the other. And then we're also gonna do side to side leg swings. You could turn and face whatever's supporting you. I'm gonna show you from this angle. So holding on to something for a little bit of balance. I'm gonna swing my leg out to the side and in front of my body. So again, whatever feels natural. Some people meet a lot of resistance lifting out to the side. So just do whatever feels comfortable. And now onto the other side. Just like with our previous mobility sessions, we're going to do each exercise 2 times. And we have circuits, usually with 3 exercises in them. So again, nice and easy, especially with the first round of all the exercises as you get some blood flowing. Excellent. Then we'll move on to our second one, which is going to be some body weight squats. So yes, this is an exercise, but it's also a great way to get some mobility in the hips and everything warmed up. So I have my feet shoulder width apart, and I'm going to think about reaching back to sit on a chair that's just a little behind my heels as I drop down and come back up. I'm making sure that my knees stay straight in line with my toes. They don't cave inward. And I'm just lowering down as much as I can. I'm going to show you a few shallow squats. If that's all that feels great for your knees, that's totally okay. You can work on getting to a lower point over time. But just imagine, or you could actually put a chair behind your heels as you go down and come back up. Keeping that torso nice and tall, making sure you're not bending over too much. We'll do one more. Excellent. And then our third one is going to be some bent over Ys and Ts. For this one, we are going to bend our torso over with a flat back, which requires a little bit of tightening of your core muscles to support everything here, and have a little bend in your knee. So we're not all the way bent over, just a little bit. And then taking my hands, they start in between my legs, and then you're going to go up into a Y and back down. I have my thumbs pointing at the ceiling, and nothing else is moving but my arms. And this is moving my shoulder blades back and down my back, lifting up and back down. One more of these, and then we're going to make a T motion, which is out to the side, back down, straight up with those thumbs towards the ceiling. And this is engaging your torso a little bit. Make sure to keep that really tight and engaged. Lifting up And a little bit of a squeeze of your shoulder blades together. One more. And back down. Wonderful. So we'll run through these one more time, starting with the leg swings. So I'm somewhere where I have a little bit of support. Forward and backward is first. Just a natural, not too fast, not kicking or hiking that leg too much. Just letting it swing forward and backward. And then other side. Just switching and keeping that torso up nice and tall. You might feel like your legs have loosened up a little bit since that first round. And then we'll do the side to side. So you can just turn and face your anchor point if you want, or grab a little something to hold on to as you swing side to side. Just lifting up a little bit higher out to the side. This time you can try to get a little more range of motion, a little more lift, and other side. Trying to keep your hips mostly facing forward as that leg lifts up. One more. Excellent. And then that second one is your body weight squat. Again, feet about shoulder width apart, keeping your knees straight forward, torso tall, as you sink down and back up. Not too fast on these, just taking your time so the torso stays tall. If it needs to be a shallower squat, that's totally okay. And remembering to breathe. Maybe a little squeeze of your glutes at the top. And one more. Wonderful. And then our last one is that bent over Y&T. Feet a little bit narrower than they just were for the squats. And then we're keeping the back flat as we hinge over. There's a little bend in the knee so you're not getting too much of a hamstring stretch. And then hands start in between the legs. Those thumbs are pointing up at the ceiling. Again, this one, we're not kind of forcing it at the top. You're just smoothly lifting those elbows and hands up towards the ceiling. Little shoulder blade squeeze at the top, as long as it's a smooth extension of that movement. Now go into the T's, which is the arms just straight out to the side. Keeping a little bit of tightness in the front of your torso and your core to support the lower back. Little shoulder blades squeeze. And one more time. And rest. Alrighty, then we get to go down onto the floor for your second circuit. This first one is going to be a line floor angel, or actually more like a field goal motion, but very similar. And so start by finding your way down to the floor. Knees are bent. Hands are going to start above your head, and then you're going to bring them down to a field goal position, tucking those elbows down and reaching back up. So my arms are just slightly off the ground. It's a little easier than dragging the arms on the floor. I'm pulling the elbows towards my sides, reaching back up. And so especially that top part when your hands are reaching above your head is where you might meet the limit of your mobility. So you're just straightening those arms up as much as they'll let you, but not forcing it. And going for one more. And then you can rest from those. Our second one is actually a bit of a stretch. We're gonna do a line cross. This is great for helping open up your side. And so we're gonna straighten one leg out, take this other knee and have it bent at 90 degrees, and just let it fall gently towards the ground. Then I'm gonna take the arm, bend at 90 degrees, and let that drift towards the ground. So maybe they'll get close to reaching. Your arm might get closer than your leg. Might feel a bit of the stretch in that chest, shoulder, pec. You can very lightly press. Unless you have any sort of spine issues, then it would be good to just kind of keep this knee lifted a little bit higher. As long as you just let it naturally fall, should be a nice twist. And then we'll lift up that knee and then straighten out your other leg. Other knee bends at 90 degrees and gently falls towards the ground while the arm is bent at 90 degrees and it falls towards the ground. So again, we're not forcing it into a super deep stretch. We're just letting them fall where they can. If you felt like you needed support on this knee, you could always grab something like a foam roller for it to rest on, or a stack of pillows. But hopefully you're just letting it drift to where it naturally goes. And then bring it back up. And rest will be in perfect position for your third move in this circuit, which is going to be some heel slides. So this is going to be a little bit of movement at the knee and hip, but also a great core engagement exercise. And so with this to start, we're going to think about pushing your lower back into the ground. You'll notice that kind of tilts my hips and pushes my rib cage towards the ground. And then you're going to take one heel and slide it out and back in. Then your other heel sliding out and back in. Trying to keep that position of your core engaged, the hips tilted, rib cage pushed down. And if you notice that it's a little bit harder to breathe while doing this, that means you're usually having that tightness. That means you are engaging your core, so it's a good thing. But do try to keep breathing and take a moment to rest if you need it. And relax. Take one big breath, and then we'll do all of these one more time. And so that first one is going to be our floor angels. We're really just pulling into that field goal position and reaching the arms back up overhead and pulling them back down. Just a nice easy pace, reaching up, pulling the elbows towards the sides. So again, this type of exercise, doing some mobility, a little bit of activation of the muscles, a little bit of stretching. This is a great way to start your day, even if you have a workout later, or maybe you have some time for some strength exercise right after. You'll be perfectly prepped and ready for that, or even some cardio exercise. Or even if this is your efforts for the day, then you can check it off the list. And the last one. And then we'll go into those lying twists. So again, we're straightening one leg, bending the other knee at 90 degrees, hips at 90 degrees, and we're letting that drop towards the ground as you take the elbow, also at 90 degrees, a lot of right angles in this one, and let it drift towards the floor. Your arm, make it nowhere near the floor. That's totally okay. We're just letting essentially gravity get a stretch in your chest and shoulder while having this other leg in a slight twist for your side. And take one breath in and let it out. Before you lift that leg and then straighten it so we can do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm not really pulling this knee. I'm just letting it drop towards the ground. If it did feel good and you have no back issues, you could press ever so slightly. And take a big breath in and let it out. And then lift up your knee and come back to this position where we're ready for that third one in this circuit, those heel slides. So again, we're thinking about pushing your lower back into the ground. That should tilt your hips and press your rib cage down, and then maintaining that as you slide one leg out and back in, other leg out and back in. Hopefully you enjoy some sounds of the neighborhood as we're doing these. If you need to take a break and then reset your core, you definitely can. I'll hit one more on this side and the other side, and then rest for a moment. Feel free to take a sip of water as we're coming up and into our hands and knees position. So you'll find your way here. If you need to double up your yoga mat for extra knee cushion, feel free to do so, or to grab a pillow. And then from here, our first one in our third circuit is just going to be some bird dog reaches. I'm going to lift up my opposite arm and leg and think about reaching as far forward and backward as I can. And the whole time during this, I'm making sure not to be in our cow position. If you've done a previous class, you know what that is, but essentially we want to have a flat neutral back or even be slightly rounded. That'll make sure that we keep this in the front part of your core and out of your lower back. And we're reaching, lengthening as you lift up that arm and leg. Reach. One more on each side. And rest. Then here in this position, we're ready for our next one, which is going to be for our wrist mobility. And so what we're going to do is actually take our shoulders, and I'm going to move them in a small circle, like you're trying to draw a circle around your wrist with your shoulders. So I'm starting off going clockwise. If you're going counterclockwise, that's totally okay. And I have my fingers spread. And now go counterclockwise or the opposite of whatever direction you were just going. Again, taking your time, not rushing through this movement. One more circle. and relax. Then take a moment, maybe shake out your shoulders. This whole circuit will warm up those shoulders because our last one is going to be some inchworms. So I start in a plank position and I'm walking my hands back towards my toes. Your knees can bend, but we are trying to get a hamstring stretch. And then you'll walk back out. And you can go at your own pace for these. We're only going to do 4 of them, and that's 2. Hips push back so that you have the space. Just walking out. Last one here. And come back to your knees and rest for a moment. Take a breath, and we'll do this circuit one more time. So building up a little bit of heat and warmth in the shoulders. And we'll go back to those bird dogs. Also make sure you're not collapsing into the shoulder, but you're almost pushing away from the ground. And then reach that arm and leg as you lift. Again, taking your time as you extend. Hopefully each time you do the second round, everything feels a little more natural, a little bit more warmed up. We'll do one more on each side. And rest. Then spread your fingers. Start with your shoulders over your wrists. And then whatever direction you want to go first, just make a circle. Your weight should kind of shift from one hand to the other. And so a lot of my clients who are seniors do struggle with, wrist mobility, strength, even pain. So if you need to cut any of these short because you're building up your strength, now let's switch directions. That's okay. The goal would be to get stronger at these over time. And it does take time since everyone's at a different starting point. So always just meet yourself where you are at. Rest when you need to. And then work on getting stronger at these over time by repetition, like most things. Good. All right, then shake out those arms for a moment. And then we'll get into our plank position for 4 of those inchworms. Walking the hands back to the toes or as close to the toes as you can get. If you need a break, you can drop onto your knees. You could even do these. I'll show you the next one from your knees if you ever needed to just practice instead walking your hands back and walking them out. And that would still build strength in the shoulders, and then you could work up to the full inchworm version. And rest. Wonderful. All right, now take your time coming back up to standing as we do our last 2 exercises of the day. So the first one is going to be a hamstring sweep. This one might be familiar if you've done the class before. We're going to reach down our legs, straightening one leg out in front of you as you push the hips back and sweep down, alternating sides. You can either go with me or at your own pace. Should feel a little stretch in your hamstring. And rest. Good. Then for our second one, we're going to do a little calf stretch. So if you have a wall or a dresser or even a sofa leg, what we're going to do is take your foot and put your toes on the wall. And then we're going to press forward into the wall until you feel a stretch on the back of your calf. So you don't have to have your toes too high up the wall at first if you feel that a little bit much. And then press forward if you're able to. And let's switch sides. So again, toes are just slightly up the wall and we're leaning forward into that stretch. And take a big breath. And we'll do each of these one more time. So you'll be able to see my feet a little bit more here. I do keep my toes up as I reach down for that sweep. For this first one, our hamstring sweeps. And I try to keep my back mostly flat. It's okay if you round a little bit for these ones. The other knee bends to help give you that extra distance of bending down. Hopefully your balance is a little woken up and ready for these. Last one here. Wonderful, and then again finding that wall or whatever surface you have. Toes are lifted and you're pressing just gently forward, or maybe you're not. If ankle flexibility is something that you're working on, it would totally be okay to even have your big toe kind of only up that wall. Just meet yourself wherever you can. And then switch sides. You should feel a nice stretch in your calf. And take one last breath in and out. All right, and you've done it. I hope you enjoyed getting a little bit of movement in to start your day. Again, it would be great to roll this into some strength or some cardio or some yoga, some extra movement. If you have any questions or if you enjoyed this class, feel free to let me know or share it with a friend, and we'll see you next Tuesday.